All right, we ready? It's no intro music tonight. It's no intro music tonight. Well, so to speak. It is intro music, but it's not intro music. So it's intro music, but it's not intro music. So I am going to do this. This is a running back pod tonight, so I'm going to do this first. First things first, we're going to get into what happened with Diddy. And then or should I just go in now? You know what? Since it's not too much, we'll do Diddy tomorrow. I'm just gonna do what I was gonna do. I am just gonna do what I was originally going to do for the running back pod. Because there wasn't much to get into tonight. And I know it's a lot of people that wanted this one that probably didn't see this one. Because I looked at the views of it, and I said, there's not as many people that notice this one. So, I got you. I got you guys. Yep. That's right. We are running it back with a special one.
Go ahead and call me a coward, say that I'm not strong because I'm not like you. Go ahead and call me crazy because I live in a maze. Tell me, how about you? I think I live in my head. Sometimes I think that I'm dead. I hide behind my youth. No, I've been losing my mind and I'm a little behind. Step aside my shoes. Cause I never been happy with myself, and I don't need no one feeling bad for me. Trying to offer me giving and throw jabs at me. Wanna give me advice and then laugh at me behind closed doors.
This is a special one here.
Go ahead and call me a coward, say that I'm not strong because I'm not like you. Go ahead and call me crazy because I live in a maze. Tell me, how about you? I think I live in my head. Sometimes I think that I'm dead. I hide behind my youth. No, I've been losing my mind and I'm a little behind. Step aside my shoes. Cause I never been happy with myself, and I don't need no one feeling bad for me. Trying to offer me pity and throw jabs at me. Wanna give me advice and then laugh at me behind closed doors. Just close the door and let me be by myself. It's me and myself. I'm tired of living, I cry. I hear it's easy to die. Wanna see for myself. And I know that sounds crazy to everyone else, but I'm depressed, stressed. Ain't no medicine that can cure what's intense. I need extra love, and that ain't even enough. So that ain't even enough. And what the is God? Damn, maybe I ain't believing enough. But today we gon' see if he's real. And if he is, then I guess I'm probably going to hell. Look, I ain't wanna die like this. I ain't picture my life like this. They don't know what it's like this. Pretending I'm happy so I can smile like this and laugh like you. Sometimes I wonder if I ever act like you. Could I finally fit in and maybe relax like, ooh? Or would you feel lost without me? Cause honestly, I think the world is better off without me and my mind spinning. This is the line finish. Truth is, I don't care how they feel about my feelings. I made up my mind. I'm going out like Robin Williams. I guess I'm not the ordinary people of John Legend. And I've been suicidal since the day I was 9. Okay, the day I was 9. I've been tired of being bullied, couldn't stay out the fire. Grandma told me I should take it one day at a time. And damn it, look at me now. Pen's running out. Look, just know it's a new day. But if you're reading this, then it's probably too late. Just make sure you tell me it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. I don't wanna let you see it. I'm sorry, but I can't stay. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me.
everybody tuning in. I'm your host with the motherfucking most chill motherfucking Murray. I hope this thing does not crash on me. It's been acting up all day. Um, Thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to everybody tuning in or not tuning in. You know how we do and how we rock. Salute to everybody. Happy Memorial Day to everyone. I apologize once again starting this a little late. I didn't start it at 12 o'clock. So salute me on that. We're trying to start a little bit earlier lately. Also, excuse me. Quick moment of silence. Or 30 seconds of silence, I should say. Or quick moment of silence for Ann Heche and Twitch boss, Stephen Twitch boss. This is an audio broadcast, so we had to do a quick moment of silence for them. But yeah, today we are going to honor the life of Twitch and Heche, excuse me. A lot of people believe that Ellen DeGeneres and Ellen DeGeneres, excuse me, has had a lot to do with both the deaths of Anne Heche and Twitch. And needless to say, when I did a lot of digging of information, it was definitely very ironic the similar year of dates. That was one thing that really caught my attention. Needless to say, so Anne died August of 2022, and Twitch died December of 2022. Same exact year. I'm from Southside Queens, by the way, Fury B. Shout out to you, Miss Kenya. This very same year that he died, Ellen's show also went off the air in May. So look at the timeline, of course. So Ellen's show goes off in May 2022. Anne dies August 2022. And Twitch dies December 2022. I said, now wait a minute. Because Twitch had already, when I started digging on Twitch, I started saying to myself, okay, his death is very, very eerie. It's very unexplained. So when I started digging on Twitch, I started to realize, okay, Anne also died the same year, but Anne was, the former girlfriend also of Ellen as well. So they both died also mysteriously in suicidal ways. So that was a big thing that jumped out to me as well. So for both of them to die in mysterious suicidal ways that were not clear, as well as they were unlike the person at the time that they died, both of these people had different things going on in different ways in Ellen's life. For example, allegedly Anne was writing another tell-all where she was going to tell more about, her relationship with Ellen, called Call Me Sane. And then she also had, the podcast going, as well as she had the movie going on referring to sex trafficking. Then you have Twitch, who had taken money from Ellen and invested it in crypto, but it didn't work out. So he also had $500,000 that he was gaining from at the end of the season. That was another thing. He was gaining $500,000 at the end of the season when he left. Then you're going to, of course, think about the fact that he had the crypto investments with Ellen, but he also had invested in it with someone else named Tracy Christian, who we're going to get into. But I figured, like I said, the bigger correlation to this was Anne, who said, the biggest correlation to this was, the fact that Anne and Twitch, both knew Ellen. And for them to die in the same year, I said, you know what? Let's take a look at both of these things, with a third eye, of course. Now, we all know Ellen also has the allegations that she was accused of um, with behind the scenes at the show. But she was also accused of sex trafficking. Ellen was also accused of sex trafficking numerous times. In fact, she was also brought up in the Wayfair allegations as well. But just look here. At all the different times, look at this. Get myself away here real quick. Look at all this. You just put in Ellen DeGeneres sex trafficking, Wayfair sex trafficking, Ellen DeGeneres on Oprah Winfrey offers not on house misleading claims about Tom Hanks. Now the misleading claims about Tom Hanks and Ellen DeGeneres. Notice that they put his name also. Tom Hanks was referenced in the Epstein island. So of course that's where the sex trafficking rumor even came from. Again, Wayfair partnership. Did Ellen DeGeneres really go to Epstein's island? She is one of the main people that people have said are involved in the sex trafficking. So Ellen DeGeneres has been roped into a conspiracy theory that accuses Wayfair of acting as a front for human trafficking by selling pricey cabinets named after people. The talk show celebrity was questioned on Twitter for her Wayfair collection that allegedly included a 5-figure pillow, but really sells for far less. Social media users questioned the talk show host and if she had any involvement with the alleged child trafficking conspiracy theory. So Wayfair had actually been caught up in the whole Pizzagate theory of child trafficking. At the Ellen Show, please explain why you're selling pillows on Wayfair for over $10,000 with missing children's names on them. Think about that. She's selling $10,000 pillows with children's names on them. Are you part of the Wayfair trafficking? One user asked on social media. Attached to the tweet was a screenshot of lumber pillow with a $10,000 price tag. Search for the product, which does not have a child's name attached to it, resulted in a page on the Wayfair site for the same pillow with a $99 price tag. But Ellen, of course, had the pillow up there with a child's name on it. So neither DeGeneres nor Wayfair responded to Fox's business request for comment. On Monday, the Ed Ellen DeGeneres collection with Wayfair launched in 2015 as a joint venture between the talk show host and the CEO of Burke Creative Capital, Christopher Burke, according to the Wayfair website. A social media user posted what appears to be a screen grab of the pillow allegedly posted on DeGeneres' Wayfair collection. So allegations claiming Wayfair had a role in human trafficking circulated last week when Reddit users in the conspiracy subreddit flagged screenshot images of furniture items with high price tags, which are not part of Ellen's collection. Cabinets and armories appear to be priced between $12,000 and $14,000, alongside furniture labeled with labels names like Niria, Eureka, Semya, and Elevia. Okay, let's go on. So there is, of course, no truth to these claims. Susan Frechette, a Wayfair spokeswoman, told Fox Business in an email Friday, the products in question are industrial-grade cabinets that are accurately priced. Now, again, if that was the case, why would so many people be saying this, though? And not just the Wayfair thing. Like I said, that's not the only thing that she's, accused of. So if we're going to look at all the allegations, that Ellen is involved in, we can look at a quick timeline of all the allegations she's had over the years for the show. So Entertainment posts a quick timeline of all the allegations. So in the span of a few months, The sunny reputation of Ellen DeGeneres and her eponymous daytime talk program, The Ellen DeGeneres Show, has taken a nosedive despite her Be Kind mantra. DeGeneres and several senior staffers have been accused by current and former employees of fostering a toxic work environment. In response, DeGeneres has apologized to her staff, and three top producers have parted ways in the show. Meanwhile, several fellow celebrities have weighed in on the controversy, either defending or criticizing DeGeneres. Now, one of those people actually defended her was Scooter Braun. Now, reason why I'm mentioning Scooter Braun is, of course, once again, Scooter Braun was one of the main people who, again, was we've covered on this on the podcast before, was one of the main people in sex trafficking, in human trafficking at that. So, you have to think about this. For Ellen's name to even be coming up in sex trafficking, as well as Scooter Braun to be defending her, amongst other people, it raises an eyebrow again. So, here's the beginning of the end, of course. So, it reads here March 20th. So, Twitter users allege bad experiences with Generous. Comedian Kevin T. Porter got the ball rolling with a viral Twitter thread encouraging people to share their experiences with DeGeneres or stories about her, whom he called notoriously one of the meanest people alive, seemingly alluding to long festering but previously substantiated rumors. The initial tweet has since racked up more than 60 likes. 70,000 likes, excuse me. Numerous people responded, with one Twitter user saying that while working for DeGeneres, she was told to never look into her eyes. Another person claimed that every day, DeGeneres picks someone different to really hate. One person even alleged that DeGeneres tried to get her fired for wearing chipped nail polish while serving her food. Then on April 16th, Ellen crew outraged by treatment during the pandemic. The next month, Ellen crew members alleged that producers left them high and dry during the pandemic and that they were told nothing about the status of their working hours, pay, or inquiries about their mental and physical health from producers for over a month. According to a Variety report, the article also said crew members were later told they'd get major pay reductions, and their frustrations only increased when they heard the show hired a non-union company to help DeGeneres tape the show from her home. So she wasn't even trying to pay people from the show being taped at her home, let alone she wasn't even trying to come into work. Of course, this might have been around the time of COVID, but needless to say, the fact that you're trying to get an entire show ran at your home, the production, of course, is going to cost, and you not trying to pay anything is a little bit, frustrating for people. April to June, backlash to generous comments about quarantine and Black Lives Matter. So, at least twice this year, DeGeneres sparked backlash for statements that many said came off as out of touch or ignorant. In April, people called out the comedian for comparing coronavirus lockdowns to being in jail. Given that DeGeneres presumably had the luxury of being able to shelter in place in her mansion, of course, now I can see why that one would be taken a little bit out of context. Then in June, DeGeneres vowed to do better after critics felt her statement about Black Lives Matter was vague and ineffective. For things to change, things must change, she said in a since deleted tweet. For things to change, things must change. So ex-staffers speak out now. With rumors and complaints about DeGeneres already swirling online, BuzzFeed News published 2 reports in July that indicated that the host and her show's top producers just had a lot of work to do. So now it was an overworkload. Staffers blast Ellen's show for toxic work environment. And then the BuzzFeed spoke to anonymous current and former Ellen staffers who alleged that senior producers fostered a toxic workplace full of racism, intimidation, and fear. Going back years, while DeGeneres wasn't specifically called out for her behavior, one former employee held the host responsible if she wants to have her name on the show. From a black employee describing racist microaggressions that resulted in her walking off the job to others claiming they were fired after
taking medical leave or bereavement days to attend family funerals, they paint a picture of a behind the scenes culture that clashes with the be kind mantra touted by DeGeneres. Now, remember that whole thing later on, of course. You're going to hear that same mantra later on, that be kind mantra, as she actually was to take that from someone. Ellen's show reportedly under investigation July 27th. Following the BuzzFeed report, the Ellen DeGeneres show was reportedly placed under internal investigation by Warner Media, which would entail interviews with current and past staffers. Executive producers Ed Glavin, Mary Connolly, and Andy Lassner also released a joint statement to BuzzFeed taking full responsibility for the show's daily operations. For the record, the day-to-day responsibility of Ellen's show completely on us, the statement said in the part. We take all of this very seriously, and we realize as many in the world are learning that we need to do better, are committed to do better, and we will do better. Then on July 30th, DeGeneres addresses allegations in staff letter. 2 weeks after BuzzFeed initial report, she addressed the allegations and that she fostered a toxic workplace. In a letter to her staff obtained by DeGeneres, she avoided discussing specific complaints but promised that things would now change. While she apologized for employees' negative experiences, DeGeneres also shifted some of the blame to those working for her. As we've grown exponentially, I've not been able to stay on top of everything and relied on others to do their jobs as they knew that I'd want them done. DeGeneres wrote clearly, some didn't. That will now change, and I'm now committed to ensuring this does not happen again. In a statement to Warner Brothers, gave an update to the investigation, saying Warner Media found deficiencies in how the show was run. Without naming any names, the company also revealed that there would be several staffing changes that were going to be made. Now, if we go down here to August 17th, says that DeGeneres issues second apology, announces staffing changes. So, of course, nothing actually had changed. That was very telling right there. So, of course, when you move along, the show ended up getting canceled May 2022. With everything going on, it was not just this one time that Ellen had gotten accused of all these abuse allegations. You have to think about the fact that she got canceled on a couple of her different shows that she actually tried to do, as Joe Brown would reference as well. But like I said, to know Ellen, you would also have to know Ann. To know Ann, you would also know Ellen. So let's further get into, of course, the psyche of Ellen, and because the biggest thing you have to think about the fact that she was the girlfriend, and not only that, there's a real quick coincidence in the fact that her autopsy had showed up just 7 days. Her actual autopsy had showed up just a week before, 7 days exactly, before Twitch actually passed away in December. So, just to bring you up to speed on who Ann is to Ellen. Let me play you guys.
Two Hollywood stars. They started dating very soon. TV megastar Ellen DeGeneres first met actress Anne Heche at the Vanity Fair Oscars party in 1997. It was basically love at first sight for the two Hollywood stars. They started dating very soon after the event. At the time of the party, DeGeneres had yet to publicly come out, but she made the big announcement just days later. The couple certainly experienced their fair share of controversy. They were the most famous LGBTQ couple in Hollywood, at a time when such things were practically unheard of. Reportedly, DeGeneres had a much harder time with the situation than Heche ever did. The talk show host told the Los Angeles Times in 2001, "I didn't want to hold hands. I had never done that in public. And yet there was this attitude of, you're going to be on the cover of Time magazine and say you're gay, but you're not going to hold hands? You deserve to hold hands as much as Tom and Nicole, or Tom and Rita. So I have to take responsibility for participating in that." Their romance ultimately didn't last. They called it quits 3.5 years into the relationship. According to ABC News, their romance ended in late summer 2000, just weeks after they were seen house hunting in LA and looking as happy as ever. So what went wrong exactly? At the time, the official statement Heche and DeGeneres released read like this: "Unfortunately, we have decided to end our relationship. It is an amicable parting, and we greatly value the 3.5 years we have spent together. We hope everyone will respect our privacy through this difficult time." Meanwhile, a source told ABC News that the relationship had simply run its course. Nothing more, nothing less. But in 2001, DeGeneres told the Los Angeles Times that the split had sent her reeling. As she put it, "Heche walked out the door, and I haven't spoken to her since. I don't have the answers. I would love to have them myself. I would ask all of the questions that everyone else wants to ask. I'm left with everybody else wondering what happened. I don't know. I really don't. I feel betrayed." DeGeneres told the newspaper that this was the first time that she'd ever had her heart broken. She claimed she didn't feel any sense of closure at all. All these years later, neither DeGeneres nor Heche have revealed what really went wrong in the relationship. The day after the couple publicly announced their split, Heche reportedly started acting rather strange and erratic, according to InStyle. She showed up at the door of a stranger's home and had an emotional breakdown, requesting a shower and declaring herself God. The homeowner called the authorities, and Heche was hospitalized. In 2001, Heche opened up about her relationship with DeGeneres in an interview with Barbara Walters, claiming that she had mental issues. And these issues apparently came from a history of abuse at the hands of her father. She also said that the trauma caused her to compartmentalize herself into 2 separate personalities. The other personality was apparently named Celestia.
What could I do when I was Celestia? I spoke a different language. I spoke a different language that God and I spoke. Yeah.
She told Walters, "I'm not crazy, but it's a crazy life. I was raised in a crazy family, and it took 31 years to get the crazy out of me." She claims her troubled past led to her mental breakdown after her relationship with DeGeneres ended. But she also fondly reminisced about the relationship too. In regards to the night she first met DeGeneres, Heche said, "Her name was Ellen DeGeneres. She was radiating. I think at certain times in people's lives, you just radiate an energy and a glow of fabulousness. And that was her. I had never seen anybody so lit up." After the breakup, Heche didn't publicly date another woman, and DeGeneres was reportedly the first woman Heche had ever dated in her life. In fact, she told Barbara Walters that DeGeneres was the first woman she'd ever slept with, saying that, "I felt cared for. I felt free to express a part of me that I had not been able to express with a man. I felt sensuous and sexual the way I hadn't before." At the time, Heche was married to cameraman Coleman Coley LaFoon, but she told Walters that she wasn't limiting who she loved, quipping that, "You fall in love with a person, not a sex." Heche later went on to date and have a child with actor James Tupper, and they were together until 2018. Nevertheless, Heche clearly isn't interested in putting a label on her sexuality. As she told Barbara Walters, "I would never limit myself to saying I would be with a man or a woman." Following their breakup, DeGeneres moved on too. She dated actress and photographer Alexandra Hedison for a bit before ultimately settling down with Arrested Development star Portia de Rossi in 2004. They've been together ever since. Check out one of our newest videos.
Now, one thing you have to remember is that Ann always tried to reach out to her, of course. Ann confirms that the staff abuse allegations that were about Ellen were definitely true. In a recent interview she actually did on her podcast, of course, Ann also said that she was controlling and didn't even want her to have friends, and she wanted to be the big superstar, and Ann did not. She threatened to even sabotage her career. Ann was writing a memoir, like I said before, Call Me Sane, before she died. And, the breakdown of the breakup, it kind of leads to a little bit of a motive, but listen to this here. You definitely get the sense of a motive with Ellen when you hear the interview here.
All right, we're having a little question and answer period on Better Together with Ann and Heather. Here we go. All right. These are questions that have come up because we had our little chit chat about Ellen the other day.
Well, let's just be honest. I've never been asked any questions about my time then or my time now until now. So this is a very unique moment for me where I'm grateful that people are curious. I'm grateful to you, Perez, for doing this, because what it does is bring me into a place that is comfortable in its truth, but uncomfortable in its vulnerability, because I've never been asked these questions before, and I've always wondered if there would come a moment. And now is the moment, and I'm appreciative. So I will answer as honestly as I can, and also say that I am digesting the fact that this door has opened to me for the first time. And it's a vulnerable feeling. So a lot is being unpacked, as you've said. And so I want to be delicate in my answer, and also let everyone know that I'm not here to do any Ellen bashing. I am here to speak the truth about a time that happened that's important to know.
Okay. Did you ever try to reach out and make peace with Ellen?
You know, every day of my life with her was reaching out to her to make peace. I think it was a very difficult thing for her to trust that I was a woman who could fall in love with a woman without being gay. And I think that was a lot to process. So I tried to make that process as simple as possible by quitting Hollywood, moving to Ojai, growing gardens, starting to write and direct, which I did with her and Sharon Stone, a movie of all things called Misconception. And nothing would satisfy her soul.
Rumors Ellen was far from nice were out there for years. What was your reaction to the toxic workplace controversy?
I felt that it was in the hands of the people who needed to speak their truth. I hadn't spoken to Ellen in years, and I feel that the stories that need to be listened to are being told.
Did the stuff about her being emotionally abusive to her staff ring true to you?
Emotionally abusive is a container for our actions that we've not healed. And unfortunately, the abusive environment was something that I understood.
When did you know you needed to break things off with Ellen?
I think it was a slow roll when you come to understand the truth of another. I wanted desperately to have that relationship be the love of my life. That was my Cinderella story. What happened was that I was, through the circumstances, shut out from things that I cared about. And in order to make her feel that she was being loved, I would erase those things from my path, such as acting, and replace them with things that I thought would give her a foundation. As we got further and further away from me being able to be in public the way that would please, I began getting further and further away from my friends and my friendships. And one of the things that concerned me very much was that I was beginning to feel shut off and shut down and shut away. And if this answers the question, when I told Ellen that I needed to have friends, she said she did not want to have a girlfriend that needed that. And that is the day I left.
You stood by Ellen at such a tough time. After everything, do you wish you'd never supported her?
I wish I supported her bigger, stronger, better, greater. I was given an opportunity to speak on the steps in Washington at the Gay March on Washington and stand up for what I believe is our right to love without gender. And this is something that I wished that I could continue to say for the last 20 years by her side, on her arm, and I realized that she did not believe the same.
Okay. All right, we're having a little question and answer.
So, you have to think about this. The fact that this is the first time that she had even gotten to speak about Ellen on a podcast at that was very relieving for her. On top of the fact that it was the first time that she got to actually divulge the allegations were true, in a sense. That Ellen was wearing a cloth of be kind. She wasn't actually a kind person behind the scenes. So, a second interview actually was conducted in which Anne got to really vent and let her feelings be known about Ellen in the first place. Because it wasn't really fair that she got to just be asked a few questions on a questionnaire about Ellen and she didn't really get to vent. This particular exclusive interview where she was asked questions about Ellen didn't actually get to air visually. But the audio, if anyone can find it, feel free to send me that. But this particular video audio, I believe, was hidden for good reason. One audio that was not hidden was the second time that she got to talk about Ellen, which was a little bit more freely.
Straw Hut. Look, you don't get 2 cups of insanity in and get to take 1 cup out. You meet your maker.
Okay. Well, that was a riddle, I gotta say.
Well, God is a real. You're going to have to start getting used to me now, bitch. Watch out.
All right. Slow your roll on that Coca-Cola. Cut that out because they'll think it's Coke. So never mind. It actually is Coca-Cola.
Well, here's the proof. You know what? Every other person also like, oh my gosh, yes. The problem with disease and abuse is this. Once you catch the train of it, you have to go. So we always have a fork in the road. Once people call, and I've said this about Call Me Crazy, if I had known people would do whatever I said, I would have called my book Call Me Sane. And my next one will be, by the way, Call Me Sane. Because now you'll do what I say. Listen, the reality is we have gotten to a place where we are not looking at the truth and we are getting its consequences in our face. And what we're here to do is try to flip that on its head and say, let's look with grace at this opportunity to live this life. We've all come through a very difficult time. We've all been merged in the first time in our lives in an understanding that every single human being who has gone through it. And we are coming out the other side. We have an opportunity for freedom, or we have an opportunity to get back on the death wagon and start believing the lies that we've been crammed into each other's faces for
Fury B, I definitely agree with you. She definitely might have had a few before she did this interview. Needless to say, she definitely was ready to vent in this motherfucker.
Years, ages, centuries, on eons. It's time to flip it and then start having some fun. Don't you agree?
I do, but I want to clarify something here because we always talk about.
Well, I have a few books.
We always talk about living in kindness, right? And so here we are, telling your truth about Ellen, and we're not being
we haven't even begun.
I know, but we're not being here's the thing. There's a difference between living in kindness and also standing up for yourself at a certain point. And I think that's where we are at right now with talking about this story.
Yes.
And people will say, because I know you don't read your comments, but I'll read the comments and they're like, oh, there's Anne Heche talking about Ellen again. Anne doesn't talk about Ellen. We've done a few TikToks that our social media team has suggested.
Listen, if we don't pay attention to what people want to listen to, we're stupid. I mean, give me a break. There's one question people want to know. What do I think about Ellen? And in fact, I haven't said that yet. I have not rambled on about her for one single moment. For 20 years, I have withheld my understanding. I have been canceled since the day I was born. I've been buried since the day I was born. Every single truth that I spoke, I was hit more, buried more, fucked more, or despised more, and then had calculated visions and circulations of systems that spun me up and out of the system that would in any way challenge the fact that she was not telling her own truth, but another's. Why do you think she tried to put me in an institution, folks? I called my mother. Guess what? 2 people who wanted more than anything to have my truth buried. It was not my timing. I did not and could not ask God for what that would be. All I could do was stay on my truth, do what I was doing, and study this thing called love that we tried to bury. And now I am up and out of the ground. And unfortunately, those 2 women could not shut me down.
So she reveals that Ellen tried to put her in an institution. So it is true that someone did try to sabotage someone's career.
Whew.
Want to start over?
No, but let's talk about for a minute, because look, there's so much to unpack here with the Ellen thing, and I think that since we've started it, we might as well finish it.
Good, because then I think it's enough talk about her. Let's get on to some fun stuff.
Yes, but I do want to talk about how, look, basically what we're saying here is that she basically pitched herself as the queen of kindness, and we're finding that perhaps was not the case. And you're saying that in your experience with her, that was not the case. And in fact, that was kind of your jam. So bitch kind of stole your look.
So remember that whole be kind thing that we were talking about in the article? Where she had this whole be kind mantra that was actually pretty much fake? She stole it from Anne.
At least.
And
How
so,
does my hair look,
the
by the
irony
way?
of it is that you've always been saying the same thing. You are somebody who's
That's
always
one thing you can say about me.
saying the same thing. And when you say something that is not quite organic to you or truthful, you're gonna get popped. And where I see her having done this and just plain proof, people can tell us all the things they want to tell us, but I saw it completely when she did the 20th anniversary of her coming out episode, and she sat with Oprah and they did an entire documentary on it, and your name was not mentioned once. You were cut out of the story. You were actually literally cut out of the picture. They showed when you and Ellen went on Oprah's show, and they had a tight shot on Ellen, and you were sitting right next to her, and you were cut out of it, and you were cut out of that part of the story. And you were such a big part of that story because when you took her to that movie premiere and you were basically blackballed from that moment on, that's a part of the story. And she, with her big platform, just took you, not only did she take you out of the history of that, she, from what we're finding out, every opportunity she got to block you from working to support your family, took that from you as well. And shame on the people who went along with it too, I gotta say. Like, it's a really yucky thing that's coming to light right now. And I will say,
Wait. I love that you're laughing. You have to, because
I'm like, I will say what? I will say,
what?
Like, let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
Like, that's what I say in
I'm
my
gonna tell you
son's,
something
in my
right
son's
now.
baseball. We say, like, when you are like ready to rumble. And not that I'm ready to rumble. I don't want to rumble with Ellen or anybody.
I already did.
Well, fine. Okay. I'm ready for you to start getting the work that you deserve. And that's what I mean when I say, let's fucking go. Like, let's Anne Heche is uncanceled, motherfuckers.
Uncanceled, motherfuckers. Listen, this is one thing that I have to say about you saying yuck. You know, it really is yuck. And but I just have to bring up a fact. You know, Oprah looked at me when I was on the show that I was obviously sliced away from. 50-50, I say, you know what? That's the amount of knowledge we've been given. We've been given 50% of our language of love. We've been given 50% of our language of the intellect. We've been given 50% of the language of our bodies. And the fact of the matter is, the flip side needs to be understood. When I sat on that couch in such a divine entrance into standing up for what I believed, which was truth, motherfucker, my God, this woman is telling the truth. That's more interesting to me than any other thing I've been shown as love. I like that this person is standing up for what I believed was truth and the consequences. She suffered consequences because she did not believe that the truth would make her anything other than queen. Here's the deal. Unfortunately, life will greet you at a very unfortunate time, because when I was sitting next to you and Oprah looked at me and said, "What would you say, Anne, if people said to you, yuck?"
You weren't sitting next to me. You were sitting next to Ellen.
Ellen, yes. Unless you've
She
transformed.
certainly wouldn't have said that to me.
Are you a shapeshifter? I am.
Well, you said sitting next to you.
You know, I'm.
And she said basically she was insinuating
I was
that
asking
gay love was yuck.
Like, I mean, what? But the thing you want to say is like, well, what would anybody say? But, hi, I am looking into the eyes of a woman who suffered greatly, very many things that I did, and I'm talking about Oprah, not you.
They did not replay that.
They didn't replay that little bit when I said I would say,
20th anniversary.
What? Excuse me. And then she did a show on me the next day. Was it possible to be or have or love both genders? Was I so odd that I could love without gender? Is that even possible? As if I wasn't thrown in the inhuman category enough. Like, what are you talking about? Is it possible? Now we've come some way, and I know that the beginning of that conversation had something to do with me, and I feel very proud of that. Gender-free love is a given, by the way, and to say yuck to anybody, and I think we're starting to celebrate the other. The fact that there was such a conscious, deliberate erasing of what it was that I was talking about is what we have to look at. Not what was done wrong, but why we were not able to talk about it then. Why were we not able to talk about love? Has it taken us this long to be able to do it? So we're moving into a next step, hopefully. And hopefully I have some more intelligence, I know I do, around it because I've studied it to be able to communicate a little bit better about what happened 20 years ago and the fact that it's taken us 20 years to be able to be at a point where we can listen to the truth again.
And Ellen's fine. She can sit on her pile of money.
I hope you like your money because that's why I broke up with you. Do you like sitting on your piles of cash? Because guess what? It gets you exactly where you are. And by the way, baby, and it's what you wanted then, and I hope you're liking it now. Cheers.
You broke up with her because she had a lot of money, or you broke up with her because...
I broke up with her because her goal was to have a lot of money, and mine was to find love, and hers was I want 60 billion. Good luck. Our forks are never going to meet. The further we stay on with this, the further we will be apart.
Okay. She didn't live in that love and kindness.
No, she didn't. But you and I don't talk about
she wasn't a dick.
Revenge a lot, No,
we don't. There's one thing that I remember. There is one little nugget that I do have a sense of wanting a little bit of. I guess the only word is revenge. I feel that you were so wronged. And now to know that you were continuing to be wronged, it fires me up a little bit. And especially when you look at somebody like Ellen, who literally is sitting on a pile of $60 billion and then
could feed countries.
Right. And then
but you got a Porsche.
I mean, you're not hurting. You live beautifully.
Wait, that's really funny. I just noticed that. Sorry, I have to put a pin in it, but I realized that Ellen drove a Porsche.
I want a Porsche. Well, she's not going to give me a Porsche now.
Culture and then she married one. All she used to do was drive Porsches, and she collected them. I just thought it was so stupid because they were so loud you couldn't talk in them. So I thought it was so
I'm going to drive a Porsche.
I know. Well, now I'm going to get us both one. But you're going to buy me one. I'm going to buy you one. And they're going to be red, white, and blue. And
no, they're not. I want mine to be either white or black.
I mean,
or
okay,
baby
fine.
blue if it's vintage.
Baby blue would be good. Ooh, maybe we'll have matching ones. So, but the hilarious thing is that all she wanted was money, and then she ends up marrying a person named Portia, who, by the way, I
wasn't getting the joke.
I took this long to get it. Portia even asked me about Ellen before, Portia came to my wedding because I was on Ally McBeal with her, and Portia even said, I'm going to go after Ellen. I know you're not. I'm like, but you won't be the poster child, girl, because guess what? That poster child has already been taken. And by the way, it wasn't a great spot, but yours ain't going to be any easier. And I'm telling you now, like, red flag, red flag, red flag.
We're going to go to a dive bar and meet Camaro.
Jang, 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 jang.
Hey there, Camaro. How you doing?
I met a Camaro on the side of the road.
Okay, we're digressing.
I mean, let's get back to some serious shit. She was a bitch.
Oh, dear.
So, needless to say, she pretty much had to cut her off after she did that because she started to go in. she started to go in from the, needless to say, let's get into some serious shit she was a bitch. They had to cut to a break because, like as you heard, this was the first time that Anne had gotten to really speak on Ellen in the first place. And unfortunately, this podcast was done in June. Okay, this podcast was done June. The first one was done June 24th, where she was with the blouse on. This one was done June 28th, 2021. August 2012. Hold on. Where's Miss Ann? August 11, 2022, I should say. It's 2012. August 11, 2022, and Heche dies. Now, her car had actually crashed in a very violent and burning accident. But there were a lot of questions that were, asked about when she did the crash, of course. And my eye actually raised about the crash as well. For example, when she takes off the first time, she hits a garage. So when she hits the parking garage, right? The first thing I asked myself, how did she hit the parking garage? Is she drunk driving? Is she impaired? Was she under the influence? Was she doing this? Then I thought to myself, later on, what if she had a car sped off right there? Let me show you something real quick. Look how the car does like a perfect left turn almost. So when I saw that, I said, what are the odds of the car being hacked? What are the odds of that car actually being hacked somehow? Because that was supposedly an electric car she was in. That was actually an electric car she was in. On top of that, there was some rather interesting news clips. As you see here, the car just speeding by. That morning. Very, very fast. So fast it was like a fly. And when I saw this, I said, okay, her car is definitely out of control and out of her hands. But once again, this is an electric car. So, who's to say that this electric car was not possibly hacked? Look how fast it was going. Now, as I'm hearing that, I hear screams. Remember, that's not the car screeching with brakes. That's someone screaming in agony as they're driving by. So, hearing that, I said, okay, She has zero control of that car, and she's screaming for her life as the car is
As
whizzing
we
by.
continue to learn new developments into that car crash in Los Angeles, and as the driver by TMZ and Fox 11 out there in Los Angeles identified as Anne Heche. Let's take a look one more time at that video that we saw earlier this afternoon of a car going into a house taking place there out in Mar Vista.
House of Preston, and car slammed.
As we can see the helicopter video there of the car in the house, you can see firefighters on the scene there taking that car out from the house. Fox 11 in Los Angeles said the driver went into that house and sparked a fire. Firefighters were on the scene just before 11 a.m. on the West Coast. A car, a Mini Cooper, you can see there, went through the house, causing a massive fire. Within an hour, the firefighters, LAFD, had eventually pulled the car out of your home. You can see it was towed out of the home there. Firefighters still looking in the car to find possible survivors. The driver was rescued, as you'll see in this next little clip we're going to transition to real quick. They were taken to the hospital, as you can see there, in a hurry to get out of that car that crashed into that home. They were worried about the structural damage of that home as it was built in the 1950s, and you could see the house give way a little bit there in the house. So they were concerned about that, and also concerned about the person, the driver, who was identified as Anne Heche. You probably know the name from TV and movies, from 6 Days, 7 Nights, Donnie Brasco,
Now, you're saying to yourself, of course, the person is fully burned, but
and there is a dramatic moment there.
as you can see here, she got up.
From 6 Days, 7 Nights, Donnie Brasco, Wag the Dog, Volcano, a bunch of movies.
She literally ripped the sheets off of the gurney. So once I saw that, I asked myself, how does a person that is supposedly severely burned and bruised and damaged, just been in a car wreck, as you guys saw, this car is completely totaled. Completely totaled. So how does she look damn near unscathed when this car wreck happens? Two things came to my mind when I saw this. A, she was placed there, which, okay, even if that's far-fetched. B, she was definitely in the car. Okay, so if we're going with B, she was definitely in the car. She was unscathed at the time of the accident. How is she unscathed at the time of the accident? If I'm in the electric car, right? Let's all put ourselves in the electric car. If I'm in the electric car now, and the car gets out of control, I'm going to then jump in the back seat and get myself away from harm's way. Anything that is going to happen to me, I am in the back seat now. Now, of course, she possibly saw herself going into the house, in which she then got out of the seatbelt and jumped into the back seat of the car. That is the only possible logical explanation that would explain how she is completely unscathed and unharmed, damn near, from the accident. Anybody that is in that type of an accident or burning accident would not be able to walk, not let alone move. So, of course, you can understand why they might have strapped her completely and clothed her in all those sheets. But that also raised the third eye. How was she able to break loose if she was hurt in the first place? Which lets us know that she was not hurt in the first place, in which someone had actually caught that as well.
and car slammed.
As we can see the helicopter video there of the car in the house, you can see firefighters on the scene there taking that car out from the house. Fox 11 in Los Angeles said the driver went into that house and sparked a fire. Firefighters were on the scene just before 11 a.m. on the West Coast. A car, a Mini Cooper, you can see there, went through the house, causing a massive fire. Within an hour, the firefighters, LAFD, had eventually pulled the car out of your home. You can see it was towed out of the home there. Firefighters still looking in the car to find possible survivors. The driver was rescued. As
you know, we can confirm that the actress is now in stable condition, but she is potentially facing a slew of charges. And we're talking about speeding, DUI, and hit and run. That's all part of the investigation, according to the LAPD, and they're waiting to speak to the actress. But one thing we can say for certain, a lot of damage was done out here. Just take a look. This is the house right here behind us here in Mar Vista. This is on Walgrove Avenue. Part of the house caught fire. The homeowner was inside at the time, but no word if she was also injured. You can see the house has been boarded up, and it doesn't look like anyone is living there right now. This happened on Friday around 11 a.m. Take a look. Sky 5 captured the moment the 53-year-old actress was taken away in an ambulance. She was taken to a local hospital. She suffered significant injuries and some serious burns, according to the fire department. The LAPD saying that Heche appeared to be under the influence and was acting erratically. According to witnesses, she may have also been speeding. They saw her in a blue Mini Cooper. They say she first crashed into an apartment building near here, then took off from that location and ended up crashing into this house here on Walgrove. This Mar Vista home immediately caught fire. It took 59 firefighters about an hour to fully put out the fire. Following the accident, a rep for the actress released this statement to CNN. Take a look. Anne is in the ICU. She's lucky to be alive. She has severe burns and a long recovery ahead of her. Her team and her family are still trying to process what led up to this. Now, Heche's condition has since been upgraded. She is now in stable condition and in recovery. As for the homeowner, according to the GoFundMe page, she's been identified as Lynn Michelle, a resident here in Mar Vista. Neighbors are trying to raise money for her to pay for some of the damages. So far, about $60,000 has been raised. Now, earlier we did say she was in the house at the time, but again, we don't know if she was injured. Back out here live, the LAPD waiting to speak with Anne Heche in order to figure out exactly what happened here. Part of the investigation we do know is speeding, and this street right here, not sure if you can tell from this live shot, but it is a T, so a very dangerous situation if you are not following the speed limit, and especially if you're under the influence. That's the very latest. I'm Lena Bowman reporting live in Mar Vista, KTLA 5 News.
So, here's the thing. Number one, notice how the reporter also was trying to deflect the fact that Anne was even in a car crash in the first place and that she had severe burns. Notice how the reporter was trying to put it more so on Anne was just a drunk driver. Notice how also they briefly touched on the fact that she had escaped from the gurney. Not any single report that we've shown just now even clarified the fact that she was pretty much coherent when she escaped from those sheets. If anything, the reporter started to say that she was erratic. Now, of course, you're going to say that the person is erratic, but why not say that the person was in shock? Again, more words used to pretty much blame Anne for this than say that she was, a victim of her car. Now, how we know that she was a victim of the car? Before we get into that, listen to Ellen DeGeneres' reaction. But before that, let's listen to Ellen DeGeneres' reaction to the whole thing.
Do you want to send her any well wishes?
Sure. I don't want anyone to be hurt.
Ellen DeGeneres is sending kind words to her ex, Anne Heche, amid her hospitalization following her life-threatening car crash.
Vehicle into a structure. Do you want to send her any well wishes?
Sure. I don't want anyone to be hurt.
That was pretty much all she said. was, I don't want anyone to be hurt.
And Heche at all since her accident?
Guess not.
Do you want to?
We're not in touch with each other, so I wouldn't know.
It's seemingly true, Ellen and Anne.
Haven't been in touch with each other, so I wouldn't know. But as you clearly heard in the interviews, Anne has tried to reach out to Ellen. And it was pretty much bullshit that Ellen didn't know why they broke up in the first place. On top of, you saw how nonchalant Ellen even acted to even hearing about Anne in the car crash.
And Heche at all since her accident?
Guess not.
Do you want to?
We're not in touch with each other, so I wouldn't know.
It seems.
Notice how Ellen pretty much didn't even want to answer any questions about Anne. That wouldn't be the first time that she did that, because remember it went viral how she had been asked about Diddy. And this is pretty much
And
the
Heche
same
at all
response.
since her accident?
Guess not.
Do you want to?
We're not in touch with each other, so I wouldn't know.
It seems.
Pretty bland, huh? But let's get a better look inside the morning of Anne Heche as well. Because inside the morning of Anne Heche, you will quickly find that Anne Heche was not actually drunk, as they say, during the time of the accident.
New details are emerging about Anne Heche's morning before that fiery car crash left her in critical condition with severe burns.
Or I see she was in a crash and I'm just like floored, like, oh my gosh, I'm praying, like, I hope she's okay. I hope she's okay.
Richard Glass owns Glass Hair Design in Venice Beach, and less than an hour before Anne crashed her car into a nearby house, she popped into his shop to buy a wig.
I discovered that it was Anne Heche, and from there she asked if she could purchase a red wig that was up top, and I said sure. And as I bring it down, I tell her that it's not cut or styled. She said she didn't care. She wanted it anyway. So from there, I bring it down, I tell her it's a little bit dusty. She says, no worry, just sell me some shampoo and conditioner. It was just, it's so random, so random.
Right now, the LAPD is investigating Anne for misdemeanor DUI and hit and run. They're looking into what role drugs or alcohol may have played in the collision. But Richard says he didn't notice anything out of the ordinary about Anne during their encounter.
She wasn't speaking in cursive. You know, I say that, you know, if people are impaired, you know, they speak in cursive because it's like you're slurring your words. But she wasn't. She was very, very cordial, very personable, very polite. And yeah, like the whole encounter, maybe 10 minutes. So it wasn't huge, but it was strange all the same and random.
The visit also seemed pretty pleasant. Check out this selfie Richard snapped with the actress and her new hair.
There was just a coupling of my face. She told me how beautiful I was and had we worked together. And I said, no, we hadn't, but I'm available for you if you let me know. Sure. I took a photo with her, and from there, she left and, you know, went about her day.
It was about 20 minutes later that Anne crashed. Richard found out about the accident through social media, just after posting that photo.
I hear my alert go off, and from there, I hear or I see she was in a crash, and I'm just like floored, like, oh my gosh, I'm praying, like, I hope she's okay, I hope she's okay. I was just floored, you know, and just praying for her safety, you know, and everyone involved. On
Monday, Anne's rep told ET she's in a coma and has not regained consciousness since shortly after the accident. At this time, Anne is in extremely critical condition. She has a significant pulmonary injury requiring mechanical ventilation and burns that require surgical intervention. ET has learned that Anne has since been moved to a burn center in West Hills.
The only message that I have for Anne is her speedy recovery and healthy heart and healthy mind.
So here's the thing. Remember when I said that it's possible that, you know, her car might have been hacked? So at the time, she was also working on, remember I said, Girl in Room 13. So Girl in Room 13 was a movie about sex trafficking specifically. as you can see here in the summary, a drug dealer holds young Grace captive in a hotel room, and he can abuse her and sell her into human trafficking. Meanwhile, Grace's mother uncovers the shocking truth about trafficking as she stops at nothing to find her beloved daughter. So in the movie, they actually uncover the truth about human trafficking. And look at this here. Although it was said to be inspired by real-life events, it is not a documentary about human trafficking or pedophilia. Now, why would they put that in the movie? Or should I say, why would they emphasize that about the movie? And needless to say, this was Anne Heche's last movie as well. But Anne Heche's autopsy also revealed an interesting thing as well, in that the actor was not intoxicated at the time of death. So, the final autopsy report of Anne Heche reveals that she was not impaired. Though there was traces of cocaine in her system at the time of the actor's fatal California car crash. Now that you can explain. Because of course, you heard the gentleman saying, oh, she was touching my head, saying, oh, have we worked together and things like that. And of course, her interview, of course, doesn't necessarily, say that she wasn't on that. Of course, also, she had to emphasize in the interview that she was not on coke. But there was no evidence of impairment by illicit substances at the time of the crash, said Sarah Ardonnelly, a spokesperson for the LA County coroner. In a statement, Heche, 53, sustained life-threatening injuries after she drove her blue Mini Cooper in a Mar Vista home. So we don't have to, of course, read into the rest of that, but think about that. Because the same thing would be in the autopsy for Twitch. In Twitch's autopsy, obtained by the report by People, it was confirmed that the So You Think You Can Dance album had no substances in his system when he died in December. So both of these people were accused of suicide when they died, or being under the influence when they passed away. But yet, neither one of them had anything in their system. Of course, Anne had a little bit of coke in there, but we've all seen some very sane coke drivers, haven't we? Let's be honest. We've seen some pretty sane people behind the wheel of coke. I have witnessed one person who, I won't say his name, he pretty much drove his feet in high speed in traffic. He was fine. I mean, that's a terrible example, but there was plenty of people I know that have been functioning coke addicts and can drive very, very sanely. That's not necessarily going to make you lose your control of a vehicle. But what make you lose control of a vehicle, needless to say, would be your car being hacked, possibly, right? So here's an article from Sandra Rose, and report says Anne Heche's electric car was reportedly hacked. I'm going to take myself away here once again, real quick. According to a report, actress Anne Heche's car was remotely hacked and controlled by an unknown person before it was crashed. Rumors swirled online that Heche's car was remotely hacked because she was about to release a film exposing sex trafficking in Hollywood. According to an article in Motoring Life, a security flaw in Mini Cooper cars left the vehicles open to hacking. The fear that your car can be hacked and made to crash is not new, and it's not completely unfounded. The Washington Post wrote in a recent article, concerns about automotive cyber security have been raised since automakers began outfitting cars and trunks with computer-controlled systems. Heche 53 was pronounced brain dead days after her electric Mini Cooper crashed into a house into the Mar Vista neighborhood on August 5th. So, again, one has to speculate. One definitely has to speculate when I'm hearing about someone's car being hacked in that car crash. Don't you think? Now, I wasn't under the impression that the car was, like I said, even an electric car until I thought about it. Like I said, what are the odds of someone not even being in the control of that car when they crash into that garage? And then, like I said, when I saw it ease around the turn and left like that, I said, okay, she's not even in control of that car. Did a little snooping, and what do you find out? Damn car was hacked. Damn car was hacked. Now, rest in peace to Anne Heche. Another person that, did not have so kind words for Ellen, but also had some words about the show. Judge Joe Brown let out some very, very key information. Very, very key information. In regards to the endorsement of Twitch from Ellen.
Asked me to do her a favor so her show would not be canceled for low ratings. I showed up, and that woman wanted to get in my face. Didn't you hear me say to put that robe on? I said, didn't you hear me to tell you I'm here doing you a favor? We're out of here. KNBC 4 from New York. Call me back. Please, Judge, would you do us the favor? I know she's obnoxious to deal with.
Okay, but that wasn't why I brought it up.
Now, well, I know he's supposed to be endorsed by her.
Right, Stephen Boss,
suspect.
Listen.
I'm suspect.
Listen.
I'm not a good person to ask about this.
That's not, it's not even about her.
Yeah, it is. If he got an endorsement, it's about him
Can
through
you
her.
let me talk?
Go ahead. I read the story. You sent it to me.
What story?
I read the story. You sent it to me. So you just heard right there, there was an endorsement from Ellen to Twitch. Now, of course, this young lady here, God bless her, if you're doing an interview, now, of course, this is a podcast that these two mainly do. Even if you're doing an interview, I'm pretty sure you've heard this before, young lady. Let the person that you're trying to ask a question speak. But in case you didn't hear,
I know he's supposed to be endorsed by her.
Right, Stephen Boss,
suspect.
Listen.
I'm suspect. She's obnoxious to deal with.
Okay, but that wasn't why I brought it up.
Now, well, I know he's supposed to be endorsed by her.
Right, Stephen Boss,
suspect.
Listen.
I'm suspect.
Listen.
I'm not a good person to ask about this.
That's not, it's not even about her.
Yeah, it is. If he got an endorsement, it's about him
Can
through
you
her.
let me talk?
Go ahead. I read the story. You sent it to me.
What story?
That thing about him being, I think that was young brother Johnson sent me that thing, Bernard, about him disappearing, and he had been basically seconded and approved of by Ellen DeGeneres.
No. And this
that isn't it.
This is why I need you to stop interrupting me.
Well, I thought that was the story I was reading. Go ahead.
You hear the name Ellen DeGeneres and you just go haywire.
Yeah, anybody she endorses.
It's not about her.
Well, okay, what is it about?
It is about Stephen Boss.
So as you heard once again, Ellen endorsed Twitch.
DJ.
Ellen endorsed Twitch, and it was an endorsement that he got from her to do something behind the scenes and invest in something behind the scenes. So Ellen and Twitch were behind the scenes in partnership with a certain investment.
Which he was a DJ on her show and he committed suicide yesterday.
Oh, I can see why. All right. He was a DJ on her show.
Stephen Boss reportedly left his house unexpectedly. He left his cell phone. He left his car, went to a hotel and shot himself in the head. He was 40 years old. He was his wife. He left his wife, who was 34, and 3 children behind. She emphasized to law enforcement how out of character his actions were, so much so that officers considered listing Boss as a critical missing person. It says it was earlier reported that Hochler reportedly ran frantically into the LAPD station saying her husband had left home without his car, which she claims was unlike him. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That report that was missing. He worked with Ellen DeGeneres.
He did. He was the DJ on the show.
Yeah, and that takes a lot. She keeps the temperature at 80 degrees.
No. We're not. Okay, but listen, you as a judge. There. You as a judge, honey, we're not saying.
No, I'm talking about background circumstances. Poor man probably went crazy working around there with her.
No, we're not doing that. What I'm saying is we don't know what somebody is going through, and we should check on our friends.
You got a whole lot you got to go through to be able to work with that person on a regular basis.
I can't even use this as a clip because of what you just saying. You are actually trying to say that. Are you insinuating that this man did what he did because of her?
If he worked around her, he had to be marginal to work around that woman for more than 4 or 5 hours.
So, Judge Joe Brown, of course, is insinuating that Ellen definitely had something to do with the unaliving of Twitch. Now, he mentions, of course, the endorsement and the investment. Now, what he's talking about, possibly, is the fact that Ellen herself had gotten invested in cryptocurrency. Ellen DeGeneres jumping on the NFT craze. This comes from Yahoo. Ellen DeGeneres, notorious aficionado of internet culture and memes, is the latest to get swept up in the mania for non-fungible tokens, the NFTs. Better known as NFTs, DeGeneres is set to drop her first ever NFTs next week, with proceeds from the stunt to be donated to Chef Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen Food Relief Organization. NFTs certify the ownership of a piece of digital content based on a blockchain technology, and they've become a hyper buzzy e-commerce trend this year. So, Miss Ellen DeGeneres was definitely getting herself involved in cryptocurrency. And Twitch was definitely going to be one of those people that helped invest in it with her. So, another thing that Judge Joe Brown also mentioned that would implicate Ellen to be a part of things, as far as, knowing about the stock trade and investments, was he let it be known that she had investment stock in the network that actually had the Ellen Show on.
That's how bad it was. See, it's not just about money. It's about their agenda. Let's take Ellen DeGeneres. All that shit they said about it, that's true. See, and they cancel the show. They've canceled every show she's ever had. Not one of them has ever made it out of one season. Some seasons she's actually had 2 and 3 shows because she's the poster child for lesbianism. She came out and ruined that comedy sitcom she was on when she talked about she was a lesbian. Mm-hmm. So they reward her. So what happened is WNBC4 in New York at that time was the biggest broadcast TV station in America. So I came on and I was getting 5.8, 6.2s. And Ellen DeGeneres was on after me, and she was getting 0.27, 0.14, 0.56. So it was an embarrassment. So they asked me to come on her show 2 times. Now, I walked in there, and this heifer comes up with an attitude, "Where's your robes?" I thought she was supposed to be a comedian, you know. I said, "Well, I got it. Put it on." I said, "It's 80 degrees up in here." And I said, "I'm not putting this shit on. It's my," I said, "Well, I don't want to be here, fool. They asked me to come." So I'm starting to cop an attitude, but still trying to be a gentleman. So it's 80 damn degrees in there.
Catch your nose.
And I saw one of my cameramen.
But you know. Yeah.
So I saw one of my cameramen. I said, "What the hell's going on?" And he said, "Judge, this woman likes it 80 degrees, man. We sweat like pigs up in here. It's hot. She's bad-mouthing everybody." So a couple of sisters had come over with, well, not sisters, a couple of women had come over from my show. She's up there looking down there, bro. "Baby, when you gonna let the girls come out?" What the hell is this shit? She talked about everybody like dogs. She was nasty. She tried to get in my face. "Didn't I tell you to put that robe on?" I said, "It's 80 degrees. You tell me when I come out here." So he come out. So I put it on and then sat around. So I said, "Did I tell?" I said, "You go to hell." I said, "You witch." So I said, "Guys, let's go. Let's get the fuck out of here. I'm gone." "Judge, come back, come back." So they had called all the way from, "Judge, please bear with us. We need you."
Yeah.
So I bore with him and I say, "You a miserable ass heifer." And the first time she ever broke 1.0 was the 2 times I was on her show the next 2 days, but the ratings dropped right back to 0, nothing, and they canceled the show. But 4 weeks after that, they gave her another one. Now, I used to live in a place called Ojai, California. I had a ranch about 75 miles outside of LA. Now, I had a beautiful movie star quality wife, ex-wife now, who was very talented. And Ellen and her wife tried to hit on my wife to set up a lesbian threesome. My wife told them what they could do with themselves. But, you know, that's the way they roll. So they reward Ellen DeGeneres and they try to make her a superstar. But this chick has never been able to keep a show for a whole season. But they called her a star. But Judge Joe Brown, they tried to act like nobody'd heard of me. So the ratings went down. They say, yeah, everybody's did because they had new media coming up. So Judy's went down, Oprah's went down, Phil's went down, but I was still beating Phil, still beating Oprah and stepping on Judy's heels. So they come up with me asking me to take an IOU for $28 million from CBS, talking about everybody's taking a hit. And I say, "You lying dogs," because I bought some shares of stock in CBS, which I've sold since. But the bottom line is that when you get these shares of stock, you get the stockholders newsletter. And if you ever get to working with a company, do that so you can see what's going on. So they're saying I'm the most profitable operation CBS has through its syndication department and all of CBS because I had such massive ratings and the type of people that wanted to advertise on my show sold Maybachs, Mercedes, BMWs, and stuff like that, Cadillacs, Lincolns, and so forth. So there was a lot of revenue coming in. And I had very little overhead, and the way I did it streamlined the production process. So they're bragging about it, and they said everybody, they designated who everybody was who got a raise. So I'm looking at these fools taking about everybody got a hit, and they're lying to me. I said, "You're a lying dog." I said, "This is what you got. They just give you a raise January 17th. This is what you got." You know, how'd you know that? I should have found it out. Plus, you're also doing something that FTC, Federal Trade Commission, would have your ass doing 10 years in jail for insider trading. You've been manipulating this stock. Just like announcing that the dividend is going to drop from 27 cents down to a nickel. So the stock price, this actually happened, dropped from $68 a share down to $32 a share. These executives had a plan with CBS so they would loan them the money. They could be paid back within 6 months interest free. So they bought up all of the stock that they could CBS bought up $280-some million of its own stock at $32 a share, which, as per the intention, had dropped from 68 to 32 because of the announcement the dividend would be cut to a nickel. Well, as soon as they bought this huge load of stock, it jumped up to $64 a share, and everybody dumped their shares. So they got the equivalent of all of this stock for free that they converted to cash. So that was a hustle. That could get you 10 years in the federal penitentiary. And one of them even admitted it to me. So I was holding that over him. So I just said, that's 15 years. I'm tired of this shit. You know, I'm retired. I can even collect full Social Security. Fuck you. I'm out of here. I quit.
So think about that. Ellen was supposedly manipulating stocks within CBS. Now, who's to say Twitch didn't know about that? One way you could think about Twitch knowing about that is he referenced the fact that there were raises. Okay? So if Ellen was able to give herself a raise, wouldn't you think she gave her 20-year DJ a raise as well? Who got, it says Twitch joined the Ellen DeGeneres show and was a DJ and host in the season 11, and host in season 11 in 2013. So he was on the show for about, what, 10 years? No, 9 years before the show ended? And he got a net worth of accordingly $500,000 per season for his first 2 seasons. So definitely someone got some coins when they got their raise. And for Twitch to also know about this behind the scenes, there were some questions I had to ask myself. Okay, if Ellen is manipulating stock behind the scenes allegedly, and Twitch knows about this allegedly, Judge Joe Brown knows about this and has some information from other sources, who's to say that they're not already watching Ellen as far as manipulating these stocks? And then her show gets canceled May, the same year that Twitch dies, in December. Now, if this was going on for before the marriage, of course, because when did Twitch get with his wife? Okay. So he actually got with the wife about 10 or 11 years ago. He got with his wife about 10 or 11 years ago. So this was a little bit before he started even doing the DJ set on Ellen DeGeneres. It was before he even got with her. So if he had any type of investment made, remember, if we're doing it 10, 11 years ago and he was on the show about 9 years ago, they didn't necessarily get married until not too long ago. And the investment was made before she was around necessarily. Another thing that I thought about was the crypto investment. Remember, Judge Joe Brown said that she endorsed him. She got a major endorsement from him. Which make me think about the crypto investment. Where it says, Ellen DeGeneres, Stephen Twitch boss, lost millions in failed crypto and NFT investments. So, remember, that key word right there, NFT investments. Remember who had NFT investments? Ellen. So on top of the stock manipulation, we have the NFT investments that he lost money in for her. Then we also have the sex trafficking. So there's a few things that Twitch actually knew that Ellen was involved in before he passed. It says here, Steven Twitch Boss, the amiable DJ for Ellen DeGeneres show and dancer who rose to fame on So You Think You Can Dance, has died. His wife, fellow dancer Allison Holker Boss, confirmed in a statement yesterday the 40-year-old TV star is believed to have committed suicide by shooting himself in the head with a gun. Media Takeout had also reported. Now, Media Takeout just got some pretty interesting tea on what may have pushed DJ Twitch over the edge. We spoke with a person who knew the deceased TV star well, and they told us that over the past few months, get this, over the past few months, Twitch lost millions of dollars in failed crypto investments. The insider explained Twitch was very big into crypto and NFTs. He put a lot of money into them. And for a while, he was doing really good. Unfortunately, the entire crypto and NFT market has taken a turn for the worse, and in recent months, according to Twitch's friend, the TV star had lost millions. He lost millions, Twitch. We talked about it, and he lost it. We talked about it, and he was really stressed out over it. The friend told Media Takeout. And while the friend could not say whether it was a huge financial loss that caused Twitch to take his own life, the friend told us, I'm sure it contributed to his mental state. 1 year ago, investors were describing Bitcoin as the future of money and Ethereum as the world's most important developer tool. NFTs were exploding, and the Coinbase exchange was trading at a record, and the NBA's Miami Heat was just into its first full season in the newly renamed FTX Arena. Now, if you don't know what FTX is, it was a Bankman-Fried, who was the founder of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX, and the cryptocurrency trading firm Alameda Research misappropriated billions of dollars of customer funds deposited with FTX. He defrauded investors in FTX of more than $1.7 billion and defrauded lenders to Alameda of more than $1.3 billion. So there was a huge, huge loss in cryptocurrency, needless to say. And Twitch had lost a lot of money that he invested with Ellen in it. Now, with all that being said, we have to now do a quick breakdown of what even happened to Twitch that day. So real quick, let's do a quick analysis, if you will, and take a look into the actual hotel pictures of that day. So this is the bathroom here that Twitch supposedly shot himself in. This is the Oak Tree Inn Hotel that was supposedly about a mile away, which was about a few blocks away from where he actually lived. It was actually in walking distance, ironically. This was the actual room right here. Now, if you notice, there's no actual shots on the door or anything like that. Looks like a few bangings on the door. A little bit of wear and tear was on the door, if anything. But even inside, so I'm saying to myself, even if they're cleaning up things, right? This was pictures that were taken like right after everything happened. Now, of course, they cleaned up afterwards. But even if they cleaned up afterwards, right, you would think there would be a brand new mirror from someone shooting themselves in the bathroom. Now, of course, he was upstairs in 249. So even if there were shots, if no one was next door or, down the hall, you probably wouldn't even hear shots in the lobby, so to speak. And here's his home right here. He was 15 minutes from the home to the motel. But I want to play a quick breakdown of what actually happened that evening. Because it'll give us a little bit more insight on what actually happened, I think. 1 second here. Okay.
More details are emerging regarding what really happened to Stephen Twitch Boss. And that situation is looking more suspect than ever.
Very
Stephen
good
was an
inside
incredible
breakdown of
father,
things.
an incredible husband, and we shared in something so special. Like, our love was so real and it was so loud and beautiful. I tell people, like, at our house, it was like it was a choreographed dance. It was a beautiful routine, and everyone molded together, and there was so much laughter and love and so many amazing memories created. And he was a family man, and he loved taking care of everyone and protecting everyone, and you can still feel that love in our home. I still feel like I'm like the rest of the world, where I'm still shocked. No one's ready for that moment, and there's no one that saw this coming. No one.
The toxicology reports are finally in, and the just released autopsy report reveals that there were no substances or alcohol in his system. And Stephen's wife had apparently informed police that not only were there no marital or financial issues, but according to her knowledge, Stephen did not suffer mental health problems or have a history of thoughts or ideation. Does this remind anyone of Anne Heche's toxicology report that was released on December 6th, 2022, almost 4 months after her passing, which showed she was not impaired by any substances at the time of her accident, and the substances that were found in her system had been administered by the hospital for pain relief. Last December 13th, 2022, Stephen Twitch Boss, DJ, co-host, and executive producer of The Ellen Show, was found in a motel room less than a 15-minute walk from his home, only a few hours after his wife, Allison Holker, had rushed into an LAPD station, frantic because Stephen had left home the previous morning without his car and had not returned. Something that was not like him at all. Allison told police that she knew something was terribly wrong because he left their house without notice and there was no argument or issue, and he stopped all communication and wouldn't answer any of her calls. Allison was so insistent on how odd Stephen's behavior was that police accompanied her back to the family's home and performed a brief check around the property for any video or clues as to where he'd gone. Whatever Allison told police that Tuesday morning must have been alarming to them as well, because sources also told TMZ that officers considered listing Stephen as a critical missing persons case, which according to one city in Los Angeles County can include if the missing person is mentally impaired to the extent that they are unable to care for themselves or is an immediate danger to their own safety or the safety of others, if the missing person is in critical need of medical attention, if the missing person has no pattern of running away or disappearing, if the missing person is the victim of a kidnapping or parental abduction, or if the missing person is a victim of a crime or foul play. But before police could make that decision, they received a call around 11 a.m. that same morning reporting a shooting at a nearby motel, the Oak Tree Inn, which was less than a mile away from Stephen's Encino home. When police arrived at the scene, the paramedics had already pronounced him gone at around 11:25 a.m. According to hotel staff, Stephen had called the hotel to check for availabilities the previous morning around 9:20 a.m. And then he showed up to check in about an hour later that Monday morning at 10:30 a.m., 24 hours before Allison rushed frantically to an LAPD police station. The manager of the hotel stated that Stephen appeared to be completely normal, didn't appear to be in any sort of distress, and wasn't visibly upset about anything. He was calm when he checked in on his own with just one small bag, using his real name to book a one-night stay that Monday morning. He walked up to his room 249 and never came out. The newly released autopsy report states that the next day, after Stephen missed checkout, a maid went to his room around 11:10 a.m. and after knocking repeatedly on the door with no response, entered room 249 and saw Stephen's clothes neatly folded and stacked on the table with a bag containing various notebooks and a laptop. The maid then went to the bathroom where she found Stephen in a pool of blood, laying unresponsive in the shower with just a white towel around his shoulders and apparent GS wound to his head. When later interviewed...
So let's pause it right there real quick, right? Let's gather some information. Gets into the hotel. He's not under any distress whatsoever. On top of the fact that when he's there, or should I say when the maid gets there and finds his body, he has stacks of papers and files neatly stacked next to a laptop. Now, if we're being our investigative selves and we're putting all the information together from what we've already heard, thinking about the crypto investments that he's had, if we're thinking about the information that he's possibly had on Ellen DeGeneres with the sex trafficking, if we're thinking about, someone having stacks of papers next to a laptop, of course there are filings of something of some sort. We're also thinking about the investment made in the stock manipulations in the show, okay? So let's put all that into consideration, and let's also think about the fact how he died. How he died was a gunshot wound to the head. Remember when I said if there was some type of gunshot wound, right? Even if there was any type of gunshot wound at all, self-inflicted, wouldn't there be more of a mess than someone just being in the bathroom with a gunshot wound to their head? Biggest question you have to ask yourselves, if I shoot myself in the head, where's the gun afterwards?
Motel staff said they saw no visible S note in the room. And although several guests were staying at the motel at the same time as Stephen, no one heard any GS sound, which led the manager to speculate that perhaps the fatal injury had occurred Monday afternoon during their busiest time.
Now listen to this.
Just a white towel around his shoulders and apparent GS wound
Listen
to
to
his
about the
head.
suicidal note.
When later interviewed, motel staff said they saw no visible S note in the room.
There was no suicide note in the room when the maid actually entered and saw his body. Keep in mind of that.
And although several guests were staying at the motel at the same time as Stephen, no one heard any GS sound, which led the manager to speculate that perhaps the fatal injury had occurred Monday afternoon during their busiest time. Investigators confiscated Stephen's bag and belongings from the motel room and determined that Stephen took an Uber from his house to the motel that Monday morning and switched his phone to airplane mode so no one could reach or track him. They viewed the scene and concluded that Stephen Twitch Boss passed from a self-inflicted GS wound to the head and that there were no signs of foul play, and handed the case over to the coroner. And on Wednesday evening, December 14th, the very next day, the coroner's autopsy report stated that 40-year-old Stephen Twitch Boss, who had just celebrated his 9th wedding anniversary on December 10th, just 3 days prior to being found in that motel room, was gone by a self-inflicted GS wound to the head, and that the case was closed. It didn't matter that at the time the toxicology test had not been run, or that at that particular time there was still no indication of an S note. For all intents and purposes, the investigation was over, declared self-inflicted, and the recently released autopsy report reiterated that there were no additional wounds, substances, or other considerations in evaluating Stephen's passing. It took another 2 days before it was reported that an S note was found, and on December 16th, media outlets around the world began carrying the same story about a very vague note being recovered in which Stephen supposedly wrote ambiguously about past struggles and challenges. They gave no hints as to where the note was found, whether it was handwritten, typed on a cell phone or laptop, or in one of the notebooks recovered at the scene. And with the results of the toxicology report finally being released 5 months later, it raises even more questions. How could a case go from almost being declared a critical missing persons case to closed due to supposed self-inflicted GS wound in just 24 hours? Without results from a toxicology report, without an S note being found, and without the person ever having hinted at having those types of concerns to those closest to him. A man whose mantra was never give up. Why would a man who planned for the success of his family deliberately leave them without creating a will? Where did the G come from? And why did no one hear a thing? Why was he unclothed with just a towel around his neck? The only thing that's clear about this case is the fact that it was closed way too soon, with too many unanswered questions, leaving most people in disbelief, and some loved ones, like Stephen's grandfather, questioning what really happened to Stephen Twitch Boss.
So let's think about this, right? Let's think about the fact that there was no suicidal note when the maid actually went in there and found Twitch's body. But just days later, after the autopsy, shout out to Robert Gilman, who just subscribed also. When they found the body, there was no suicidal note. But just 3 days later, after they announced that he was, he died of suicide, all of a sudden there was a suicidal note. All of a sudden there's a suicidal note now written, right? That only the wife has. So a lot of speculation started to circulate that the wife had a lot to do with Twitch's death. Now, here's where I'm going to crack the code as far as the wife goes. I think the wife necessarily was paid off and tipped off after Twitch was unalived. I think the people that actually killed Twitch got to the wife and said, "Hey, if you don't want anything to happen to the wife, if you don't want anything to happen to the kids and yourself, I suggest you write Twitch a suicidal note and make this look like a suicide the way we intended it to." That's what I think happened with the wife. Remember, the key things you have to remember with the wife is that she had no idea where Twitch even went. She waited about 24 hours till after Twitch was gone to file the report. She goes down to the police station at that to file the report. So that's not someone that is, of course, in on anything. That's someone that is in distress, saying, okay, I need immediate help, and I need to know that I'm going to get immediate help. So I'm going to go down to the police station and not call. I'm going to make sure that I get immediate help right now, and I'm going to work with the police as far as finding out what happened to my husband. Okay, so they find out what happened to him, and just days later, after they determine it being a suicide note pops up. Okay, now my thing is, I think that the suicide note, of course, was written by the wife, and she was, like I said, tipped off by the killers. Now, who was the killers? Who were the killers? Okay, so we know a few key things. We know a few key things here. One of the key things is that Twitch had an investment in cryptocurrency. Okay? The second thing is he knew about the stock manipulations that Ellen was involved in. Third thing is, of course, he had his own investments involved in the stock manipulation. Now, the main thing you have to think about here is the fact that the cryptocurrency, of course, plays a huge part in this. Now, how the cryptocurrency plays a huge part in this, of course, if we're thinking about the end result in this, what does Ellen have to gain from Twitch being unalived if their cryptocurrency is now lost? And he's lost millions, of course, right? Ellen, of course, can't get her money back. What does she have to lose as far as unaliving him? How she unalives him, or I should say allegedly, how she has any motive to unalive him will be, of course, the same motive that the other person has to unalive him. So let's put these two things into place here before we play our Inside Private Eye. The two things we have to put into place here is the fact that, one, like I said, the investments in the cryptocurrency and knowledge of the manipulation of the stocks. If I want to get rid of someone that has knowledge of the manipulations of the stocks and that was close to me, that was also getting a raise, I'm going to remove Twitch, allegedly. Okay? So I remove Twitch. I now gain the royalties back, the $500,000 that he was receiving per season. I now gain that back, as well as I now can lock in the fact that no one knows about the manipulation of the stocks but me. I also get rid of the fact that he owed money, millions of dollars that I lost in the NFTs that I invested with him because I endorsed him. So Ellen gets a win-win here, allegedly, if she unalives Twitch, because now she doesn't have to worry about anyone knowing about the manipulation of the stocks. She doesn't have to worry about anyone knowing about her involvement in possible sex trafficking. Which, speaking of which, if we're talking about Ellen having knowledge of or being involved in sex trafficking, who else would she be close to, that would possibly have, some type of knowledge in that? Before we get into that, I want you to keep that in mind, of course. I want you to listen to our Inside Private Eye now. Of course, everyone takes Sloan Bella with a grain of salt, but the reason why I listen to Sloan Bella a lot is because she gives us great insight into the spiritual connection of what happened to the person before they were unalived. So for her to have the eyes of the person before they were unalived, I would like to look through Twitch's eyes before someone murdered him.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com. And
Matter of fact.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com, and I am back with another energetically channeled celebrity video. Now, this one is a highly requested video. You guys have been bombarding me with emails about doing this young man. So I decided to do this young man's energy reading. And in the last couple of days, I've been getting the information that I get and I've been writing it down. And as I do, I started to look for his astrological information online. And there isn't really a verified report of the chart. Usually there's a rating, like the mother gave the information, the birth certificate, the wife, the siblings, something like this. I could find none of that, but he was born on September 29th of 1982. Passed away in Encino on December 13th of 2022 at barely 40 years old. I mean, he had just turned 40. So I'm talking about Stephen Twitch, T-Witch Boss. And it's very interesting because he's a Libra, obviously by his birthday. He's got Mercury, Saturn, and Pluto conjunct in the sign of Libra, according to this chart. He's got Mercury retrograde, okay? So he is on a spiritual path in this life, regardless of money he made, fame he made.
Not sure why my other player is not trying to work here, but nonetheless, we'll just wear it from the other one.
That he had, but again, I don't know that his chart is accurate. They have him as a Sagittarius rising with Neptune in the first house in Sag. They also have Uranus conjuncting Mars in the 12th house in Sag. That's very important. Keep that in mind. We have a third house moon in Aquarius. That's actually really nice. However, Saturn did cross over it, and that can imply depression. Chiron is in the 6th house, and Chiron is in Taurus. North Node is in Cancer. So that's a very interesting aspect with the North Node in Cancer in papers, not a problem. He did not want his wife to know because she that energetically. Here's the first thing I saw because I asked the energy to come to me about what happened with him. And it's a huge lineage. This is a history that goes throughout his family. Now, I'm talking about his behavior when it comes to marriage, family, and children. And I do equate it with the Mars and Uranus up in the 12th house. I just had to mention that. If that is indeed his chart, I have to preface it with that. If that is his chart, that would imply a man who chooses to live one life while has another life behind the scenes. It's in the 12th house, it's hidden. Also, past life hidden enemies coming through male friends or counterparts, okay? Or masculine type energy. Now, put that aside with the Mercury retrograde in Libra and a stellium in Libra. We have a person who's looking for balance but may not be able to achieve it. The balance he's looking for is coming through his family energy. He would have had a transiting Saturn over his moon, which could have implied that there was some sort of deep-seated depression that came out that would be genetically connected to the mother's side of the family. But here is what I got. I asked what happened on the day he died, and I'm going to throw it right out there. So here we go. First thing I saw is they tried to shut him up. They literally tried to shut him up. He's have shit stuck in his mouth, and I'm not talking about a gun. I'm talking about like socks or stuffing or some kind of clothing put into his mouth to shut him the fuck up, okay? Period. This is a business transaction that they came to collect on. The reason he went to the motel on the day that he passed, or the day before he passed, is because he was told that he would be doing this business deal and it would just be a matter of signing papers, not a problem. He did not want his wife to know because she was not familiar with the business arrangements that he made prior to marrying her. Okay, this was his business. I can understand it to a degree. That is where some of the sadness came in, but they literally shoved a sock in his mouth. This was, when you watch those movies and they put a person in a chair and they tie them up, and they ask them fucking questions and they're like, give me the answer. And the person, when they bend their fingers back and they put something in their mouth and the person's trying to scream and they can't get out of there. So they finally just, whatever the person wants them to say, or they break their fingers. This is what was going on. The reason his wife went to the police station as opposed to calling the police and saying, my husband is missing, like his car's out in the driveway, is because she was tipped off and she became frantic. She was unaware of it, but then tipped off. This was something that was lurking below their I guess their interactions as a family, that this threat could come up. Now, here's the kicker, because I had no idea why anybody would want to shove a sock in someone's mouth or a piece of clothing. I actually thought it was a sock. That's the image that came to me. Now, here's the kicker. What if, this is how I feel it went down, what if somebody, Stephen, was basically asked by a group of people to gather information against somebody in a high position within the entertainment industry, a high political, physical position. But what if the people that asked him to get this information were not actually on the side of said high-end level star? Okay, so what if they weren't on the side? What if they were on the side of trying to take this person down? What if they were on the side of, say, a group of people like FBI, CIA, I don't know who, but some sort of governmental agency like that? And what if he agreed to tell them something, or to gather said information, and or to wear a wire? What if that's what happened? Because I am actually saying that's what happened. It's not even a what if. That's what I feel happened. So I feel like Stephen was actually gathering information because there was something that he knew about that was so egregious to him that it was not a problem for him to go behind this person's back and to gather information. I don't feel his wife knew about it at all. I do feel that he had emotional issues when it came to his sex life, because I feel he was kind of hidden about that, like on the down low. And I feel like that's kind of how they came to him. I feel like they sent a male friend person to him that he trusted and liked and hung around with, and still had a married life and still did that, whatever, to each his own. But this person said, you know, this is what's going on over here with this person. We need this information. You can get this information from this person. And then what I'm seeing is kind of like a spaghetti dinner around the table with this particular person. And I'm not even sure he ate spaghetti. Okay, that's the weird thing. I don't know why I'm being shown the spaghetti. Anyhow, a dinner party, information, plans going down, information happening. And then I hear I was a targeted individual. I was a targeted individual. I was a targeted individual.
So let's stop right there real quick, right? Because the biggest thing you have to think about is the fact that she says that the person was very close to him, was also married, okay? Was also in some type of male relationship with Twitch behind the scenes, as well as someone that would be able to get information out of him that he also was close to their family. Now, the only person that I could remotely think about, and I mean remotely think about, would be Derek Huff. Now, why, of course, are you thinking Derek Huff? Well, because Derek Huff had a very interesting and close relationship with Twitch, whether people know that or not. They were very, very close behind the scenes, did different TikTok dances together. They even had a bit where they did a TikTok dance together, in which in the beginning, Twitch had to preface it saying, "It's okay, I'm married." Now, why would a very straight masculine man be saying, "It's okay, I'm married"? Well, that's because it was a lot of allegations going on that Derek Huff was actually said to be LGBTQ friendly himself. As there was an actual article that was put out about him very recently. Well, not very recently, but ironically just 10 years before Twitch died, in 2012, Derek Huff actually was caught in a gay club. It says Derek Huff allegedly refuses to have picture taken at a gay bar. I went up to Derek and said, "Excuse me," and asked very nicely if I could have a photo taken with him. Well, he couldn't have been more rude or a bigger diva I was like, okay, he's clearly not comfortable with having his picture taken in a gay bar. If you're not gay, then what's the problem? Derek's behavior was very suspect. Ken Lee, a patron at the Salt Lake City gay bar Jam Lee, told the National Enquirer that he had spotted the 27-year-old Dancing with the Stars performer shimmying with his buddies at the gay club, wearing skin-tight, shiny silver pants, and approached him for a photo. According to Lee, the dancer got all nervous and fidgety and stammered, no, not here. So why would a person be, number one, caught off guard? Number two, why are you in a gay bar? You're not gay. 3, you're saying, no, not here. What do you mean by no, not here, sir? Huff has been dogged by gay rumors. Despite his history of dating women, including Shannon Elizabeth, Lauryn Hill, and Cheryl Cole. Huff once told a reporter, "I've been called gay forever because I'm a dancer. I know what I like, and I like women." So, like I said, when I see things like that, on top of I have to look at, photos like this, in devil horns, comfortably with this pose here, one just has to ask themselves, number one, what do they have to do, with the involvement of Twitch, on top of, was there a behind-the-scenes relationship with Derek and Twitch that most people just didn't know about? If Sloan is actually correct on things. And Sloan hasn't necessarily been known to have been wrong about a lot of things. Remember, she didn't necessarily catch from channeling Kim Porter when Diddy was going to be having his raid and a lot of his other, his setbacks as of late. So, if I have to think about the relationship between Derek Huff and Twitch, who else would be able to get information out of Twitch other than Derek? So let's go back to Sloan. Because if you're listening closely, you'll start to realize just how much information she actually has, number one. 2, how much of an insight Twitch actually had on the whole thing.
So there was an amount of stalking, targeting, information being used against him. They were running frequencies through his thinking, like frequencies. So one day he felt this way, one day he felt that way, but he knew it wasn't him. There was information gathering. I'm gathering information. I'm gathering a docket against this person. I have paperwork. I saw this. I heard this. I went to parties. I understand what's going on. I absolutely understand what's going on. So I will help you because I have heard about this. Now, it's not just his boss who he was working for. There are other people involved with this, and there were other people that he was speaking about. That now, and here's another thing. Okay, so I understand that they found the body in the hotel in Encino. Okay, so I understand that. The Oak Tree Inn. I understand that no one heard a gunshot. I understand that allegedly, as usual, it was the taking of your life and moving yourself off the planet of your own volition. I don't feel that's actually what happened. And I also don't necessarily feel that they should be saying that's what happened, because I think it would be obvious that it wasn't by the way the body looked and the injuries looked, if you will. So I'm asking what happened, and I'm hearing now, so electronics were brought to the meeting in the hotel. There was a meeting with a male friend, Okay, there was a meeting with a male friend. Said male friend was connected to this surveillance operation. And I'm literally going to say that. Male friend said, let's look at this on the computer. They need to check the computer. I don't know what information was taken off his computer. I don't even know if they can get into the computer. But everything was left very, very like nothing was touched except for him. He was touched. He was brutalized and he was targeted. He was targeted to do this, but it's like layers of stuff happening. So he did turn evidence against a high entertainment person. This is literally like he was surveilling them and they were surveilling him. The frequencies of his thinking or the way that he thinks and the way that his brain went, I don't feel he took his own life. I just don't. And I don't feel the depression was quite the way they made me write the letter. They made me write the letter. I had to write the letter. They made me write the letter. I don't even feel like that was the letter he wanted. They literally, think of an episode of The Sopranos. I'm being guided to tell you that. Think of an episode of The Sopranos. This is what happened. This is like a targeted, gang-stalked individual who was on the correct side over here with getting information about a particular person who was nefarious in their actions and targeted other individuals. And he was talked into it, although reluctantly. Not that he didn't want to do it, but he knew that it could bring about harm to him. Also, when it comes to the wife, she was literally unaware of this, but yet aware of it kind of peripherally around the side because of things he said. And he was deeply disturbed by what was going on. But that's not like enough reason for him to do this himself. He didn't do this himself. He did not do this himself. Okay, this was not something he did himself.
So, now, let's think about earlier. Key thing that she said was, I didn't want to write the letter. So, the wife possibly did not write the letter. He was the one that actually wrote the letter, and the wife possibly found the letter and took it away. Now, the maid said that they didn't find any letter at the time of the actual body being found. So if there was no letter at the time of the body being found, when did Twitch actually write that letter of him being unalived? That's the first question there. Second thing is, who got a hold of that note? Now, she's also confirmed one thing, that there was a key friend, a key male friend. So we've already pinpointed the fact that the male friend would be Derek Huff. So let's picture this now. Derek Huff, allegedly, and Twitch are sitting in the hotel, looking at the computer. While Twitch is sitting there, Derek gets up, while Twitch is, of course, off guard, and possibly kills Twitch. That's one way you can think about it. Second thing you can think about is, remember what she said earlier, this is someone that Twitch trusted and possibly had a type of relationship with. So maybe Twitch was in a comfortable state when this actually happened. But the key thing you have to think about, of course, is the confirmation that there was an A-lister that they were gathering information on. Now, which A-lister that they were talking about is the question. But we already have broken down which A-lister that they've been talking about, and that would be allegedly Ellen. But why would they be gathering information on Ellen, number one? Two, if we're talking about someone gathering information and Twitch is working with, quote-unquote, allegedly the feds now to gather this information, who else would he be gathering information on? Well, if we're talking about him gathering information on the manipulation of the stocks, we're also talking about him gathering information on the sex trafficking, right? So if we're talking about him gathering information on the sex trafficking, that would only leave us to be with one other person that could possibly be involved in this, right?
Hello, Sean Diddy Combs. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you. Do you like being scared? I'm not going to scare you.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, I know. I'm not going to do it. I have to thank you because the last time you were here, you turned me onto Twitter. I knew nothing about Twitter,
Yes.
and now it is so much fun. I'm playing so many games,
Yes.
and I get to give things away and help people
Yeah,
out.
you get to connect to the people. You get to make sure that they know that you care about them, and it's also you get to hear how they feeling about certain situations, and you get the news quicker than the news gives it to you.
Yeah, no, it's great. So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes, yes, you're definitely invited. I
When
invite
is-
you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up. To
No,
any
well,
of them.
is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that?
So, Diddy has always inquired about Ellen going on to. It's almost like a running joke, basically, that Ellen hasn't been to any of the parties. But we've already seen the video that's floating around to where Diddy's invited Ellen to the parties back in the early 90s. So, Ellen has been at quite a few of the Diddy parties, needless to say. Number two, she was also questioned about the Diddy parties when all the allegations started surfacing around about Diddy in the first place. So Ellen is definitely on the tapes with the feds. What she's actually doing, we will find out later on. But Ellen DeGeneres is, needless to say, definitely on the tapes of the Diddy mansion and at the Diddy parties that they are infiltrating. So, run-on joke, if you will, she's definitely been there beforehand. How we know and confirm that she's been to the parties? Well, just how many times has Diddy been on this show?
How are you? You know how to make an entrance. It's always with sunglasses, and then you take them off.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
That's right. You know, I have a question for you.
I'll have an answer.
Do you know how many times I've been on this show?
I'm going to guess 20. How many?
27 times. 27.
Wow. Wow.
I'm lying.
Oh.
It was only 17 times, but
that's...
after you said the 20, I felt like I was losing, but 17 times! I've been on the show 17 times!
It feels like 20.
So Diddy has actually revealed that he's been on the show about 17 times. And Ellen just responded back, it feels like 20. Now, the only other person that has been on the show more times than him would be Justin Bieber. The only other person that has been on the show more times than him is Justin Bieber, ironically. So, needless to say, if we were talking about, someone having some type of information being held on human trafficking of any kind, and you've had Diddy on the show the most times on your television show, I would think that someone is very close to that world, wouldn't you think? But let's go back to Sloan and let's let her conclude on our investigation.
Hi, everyone. This to me. Why are you doing this to me? What are you doing? This is not our arrangement. This is not our deal. Why are you doing this to me? You need to write this. Oh, please don't do this. Please don't do this. Okay? Just please don't do this. And so I feel with him, I can hear the wording in my head. I feel with him, and I'm going to say something. He has a funny sense of humor in that hands are crossed like this, watching me like, what the fuck is she saying? But this is what I'm picking up from him. I'm sorry, it just made me laugh. Just popped into my head like that. Like, what the fuck? Such a confusion around his death. Something to do with the computer, the information, the tapes, the recorded information. So I don't know if I'm talking voice or tape or both. I feel like I'm talking both. This man had just like so much information against this particular person. Now, how did she find out? Double person, turncoat, double person, double agent. That's what I'm trying to say. Double agent. There's men involved in this. There's a bunch of people involved in this. So there was a whole group of people, targeted individual. I was targeted. I was targeted because I was close to these people, because I was trusted by these people who immediately picked up. And by the way, when we're talking about the targeted individual, we're talking behind the scenes, not like necessarily like, somebody stalking you going down the street. This is on an energetic level. He's saying they literally could spy on me at any time and day. That is why I went away from my home to meet them. This is why, because whoever this man is that met him in the hotel is somebody that's been to his house in front of his family. So this is somebody that's known, and they couldn't have the kind of conversation that this man needed to have with him in order to find out information. And it's really weird because this man who encouraged him to get information, like wear a wire, take pictures, ask stupid questions, whatever it was, this man is the double agent. So he uses his sex in both directions. He uses his friendliness in both directions. He targets, he zeroes in, he gets what he needs, and then he turncoats it on both sides, okay? So this is a flipping of energy. And it's really interesting because they wanted to know who knew what this guy knew, Steven, who knew what he knew. He definitely was aware of the occult. He was aware of the undercurrent. I don't want anyone to touch my wife or kids. I want no one to go near my wife or kids. That's why she panicked. She absolutely knew that this was going down, but didn't quite understand exactly why this would be going down, and knows that this was not her husband's actions of his self, of his own actions. This is not what he did. That's why she went to the police station. She was given the information that she could go. She had a very bad feeling, and she kind of was given the information. I can now go to the police station to let them know to find him. And she was hoping that they wouldn't find him the way that they found him.
Remember what I said earlier? That the wife knew but really didn't know? So she just confirmed it through Twitch's eyes, basically. The wife knew, but she didn't know necessarily. What that means is she knew of his killers. She knew who his killers were, and she basically was scared off and paid off by those killers. So she couldn't necessarily go with the police with the information that, hey, I know such and such, set Twitch up. I know that such and such killed him, because she also knew about the underworld that Twitch was also in. Twitch unfortunately took the blood oath when he involved himself allegedly with Ellen. What that means is he was definitely behind the scenes of, say, for example, at the Bohemian Grove meetings. He was allegedly at the Diddy parties. He was at the Hollywood parties, everywhere with Ellen. Remember, we're talking about someone that was on the show since 2013. So for him to be around for so long in the Hollywood scene with Ellen, he definitely got to see and hear some things that were not privy to the untrained eye. And he had a lot of that information on that laptop. The only other person that would know he had that information on that laptop would have been Derek Huff. So, of course, him being very close with Derek Huff, who also was supposedly a straight man, and who's to say that they didn't have their own relationship behind the scenes, allegedly, from what Sloan is gathering here. Twitch trusted Derek with his life. And unfortunately, it sounds like Derek might have been the one allegedly to take his life, to guard things for Ellen. So, one thing we have to debunk here, before we let Sloan continue, is the quote-unquote rumor of Columbus Short. Yeah.
as he reportedly left his car at home, took a 15-minute walk to a local motel that he called beforehand to make sure that they had a room vacant. And they're claiming that when he checked in, he didn't appear to be in any distress, didn't show any signs of distress, that he only had a small bag with him, but when it came time for checkout, he didn't do so. So the maid went to go check on him and found him in the bathroom.
Maid reportedly found him while doing a welfare check when he missed checkout.
That's just sad. Now let's go to the next point. According to Columbus Short, the reason that he did that is because he made a bad investment and lost all of his life savings. Wow. And word for word, verbatim, here's exactly what Columbus said. R.I.P. Twitch.
R.I.P. Twitch.
And what I talked about earlier, you guys don't know what people are going through. People made investments. People lose a lot of things.
People made investments. People lose a lot of things.
This is just a theory. People are awful. They are mean. Like, people like Twitch are not awful.
Twitch are not awful.
Twitch was amazing. It's still amazing.
Twitch was amazing.
His legacy shall live on. But, what if you invest in something that took your whole life savings?
What if you invest in something that took your whole life savings?
Possibly. It gets rough. I don't want to speak too much on that.
Yeah,
but what I will speak to, Tracy Christian, still haven't given me my money.
Tracy Christian still haven't given me my money.
And this is what I'm talking about. It's like, why? Because you got caught up. You can't pay me my money in a trust account. I do not trust your account. I do not trust you, Tracy Christian.
I do not trust you, Tracy Christian.
And I'm not going to kill myself. I promise you that. So pay me my money.
I'm not going to kill myself. I promise you that. So pay me my money.
Wow. That last line was so insensitive. Like, what? I can't. But yeah, so Columbus is into all that stock, crypto, NFT, investment world stuff. For those who don't know, there's been a lot of that world crashing down and people have been losing large investments. And the person who he is referring to, Tracy Christian, is the owner of a talent agency. And y'all know he's an actor, so they know each other through that acting world. She allegedly has been recruiting people with money to put money into a certain investment, promising them large and bigger than life returns. However, she got scammed, and this is linked to FTX. And that's the trust fund that she allegedly got the money in.
Like, why? Because you got caught up. You can't pay me.
But like I said, folks got duped, so there's no money to return. All their monies got stolen by the chief executive officer.
This is one of the biggest financial frauds in American history.
And for those who don't know, FTX is the latest Ponzi scheme, the latest crypto scam that has caused so many to also lose their life savings or huge amounts of money, as they all got swindled into this investment because they used the likeness of celebrities to help endorse it to make it seem like it was legit. And in return, people have been losing all of their life savings, including Twitch, allegedly. And the FTX thing has been sending many into a Great Depression. Some lost thousands, some lost millions behind it, and there's even a guy who allegedly lost over $1 billion. So it's bad.
FTX customers were defrauded of more than $8 billion.
FTX was super trusted, which is why folks dumped all of their money into it, thinking that it was going to be their jackpot to cure all of their financial problems. But instead, they're now all in a financial ruin. And let's face it.
So, needless to say, with Twitch having the money invested in cryptocurrency, NFTs, and him involving Ellen also losing millions, let's now couple that with him having the knowledge of the sex trafficking. Again, there are a few things you have to take into consideration here. Twitch had knowledge of both things, but the biggest thing is he had knowledge of the underworld that Ellen was involved in. Because he was so close to Ellen, he had a lot of those things on that laptop. He had a lot of information on Ellen on that laptop, and unfortunately, it was part of his demise. Now, the one thing I wanted to debunk about that was the fact that, yes, he had investments in the cryptocurrency, But I don't think Tracy Christian had anything to do with his unaliving. If anything, Tracy Christian would have been working with Ellen to assure the unaliving. But that was once again one of those things that would just be there to throw you off as far as why he was actually deceased in the first place. So the wife actually received half of the estate. She actually made off with majority of Twitch's money, which led a lot of people to think that she had something to do with it, which, like I said, I don't think she had anything to do with it at all, as far as what he was actually involved in. So the case is closed on DJ Stephen Twitch Boss, widow Allison Holker spousal property petition. A judge signed off on Holker's request to be awarded half of the royalties Boss earned after their marriage union. According to Radar Online, Holker asked the court to order property passing to the surviving spouse or surviving registered domestic partner without administration. Holker, a dancer, choreographer, and actress, claimed that her late husband owned nothing of value when they exchanged vows. Existing assets were acquired during the marriage by virtue of the work skills and efforts of the parties, she added. So remember what Sloan said. The investment was made prior to her being even around in the first place. So this was something that, like she said, the wife had knowledge of, that he started on before her, but he never actually involved her in it. So she knew to get the money afterwards and say, hey, when he's gone, I'm going to now take the money and get away because I don't want the people that killed him to come after me. So I'm going to make it look like I don't know anything. I don't want anything to do with it, as I've already been instructed by Twitch to not involve myself in it or the kids. I'm going to now sell the house and remove myself from this entire Hollywood lifestyle that Twitch unfortunately was involved in. According to the mother of three, there were no written agreements between the parties that would have impacted determination that the assets were community property. During the marriage, the decedent had numerous projects and performed as a dancer, choreographer, actor, and producer, which resulted in rights to royalties as listed in attachments 7A and 7B to the petition. The majority of these royalties were through Stephen Boss Productions. Petitioner has not located specific contracts related to these royalties as they constitute a stream of income being paid to the decedent and the corporation. They will continue in the future as shows and productions are rebroadcast. Holker told the judge the funds used to establish the business and investment accounts came from decedent's work as a dancer, choreographer, actor, and producer during the marriage, she added. So, again, Ellen didn't need anything as far as the show was concerned. She mainly just needed Twitch to be removed for the simple fact that he had all the knowledge that he had from hanging around her. Same thing with Anne. The only reason Ellen removed Anne Heche and Twitch were for the same exact thing. Anne was working on a sex trafficking movie, as well as the book Call Me Sane, as well as she had disclosed the information that Ellen was a terrible person, as well as she was hiding behind the Be Kind mantra, which she was not a kind person. On top of all the allegations Ellen has had, Anne pretty much confirmed that Ellen was behind the scenes doing a lot of dirty shit, and that she wanted to be a billionaire. She wanted $60 billion, and Anne just wanted love. So, needless to say, the reason why her and Anne even broke up was because Ellen wanted so much money. So, of course, how you acquire that much money, we've already determined how you acquire that much money. You become part of that underworld and do a lot of the dirty things that are a part of that underworld. So Anne did not want to she did not want to be a part of that underworld, so she was blackballed, okay? Years later, because Anne is coming out with a podcast now and a book and a sex trafficking movie, Anne is now killed in a car crash where her car gets hacked. Her electric car gets hacked, okay? Then you couple the fact with Twitch, and Twitch having all the knowledge hanging around Ellen and having all that knowledge on the computer. Ellen pretty much allegedly had to remove, again, another person the same year that her show ended. Again, both people that we're talking about here, Twitch boss and Anne Heche, were unalived the same year that Ellen DeGeneres' show ended in May 2022. The show ended in 2022 of May. Anne died in August. Twitch died in December. I don't think that's much of a coincidence there. Especially when we're talking about the knowledge that both of those two had. Did this give you some insight? Rest in peace to Anne Heche and Twitch boss.
Go ahead and call me a coward, say that I'm not strong because I'm not like you.
Ellen?
Go ahead and call me crazy cause I live in a maze. Tell me how about you?
Every dog has
I think I live in my head. Sometimes I think that I'm dead. I hide behind my youth. No, I've been losing my mind and I'm a little behind. Step aside my shoes. Cause I never been happy with myself. And I don't need no one feeling bad for me. Trying to offer me pity and throw jabs at me. Wanna give me advice and then laugh at me behind closed doors. Just close the door and let me be by myself. It's me and myself. I'm tired of living, I cry. Here it's easy to die. Wanna see for myself. And I know that sounds crazy to everyone else, but I'm depressed, stressed. Ain't no medicine that can cure what's intense. I need extra love, and that ain't even enough. So that ain't even enough. And what the is God? Damn, maybe I ain't believing enough. But today we gon' see if he's real. And if he is, then I guess I'm probably going to hell. Look, I ain't wanna die like this. I ain't picture my life like this. They don't know what it's like this. Pretending I'm happy so I can smile like this and laugh like you. Sometimes I wonder if I ever act like you. Could I finally fit in and maybe relax like, ooh? Or would you feel lost without me? Cause honestly, I think the world is better off without me and my mind spinning. This is the line finish. Truth is I don't care how they feel about my feelings. I made up my mind. I'm going now like Robin Williams. I guess I'm not the ordinary people of John Legend. And I've been suicidal since the day I was 9. Okay, the day I was 9. I've been tired of being bullied, couldn't stay out the fire. Grandma told me I should take it one day at a time. And damn it, look at me now. Pen's running out. Look, just know it's a new day. But if you're reading this, then it's probably too late. Just make sure you tell me it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. I don't wanna live to see another day. I'm sorry, but I can't stay. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. I don't wanna live to see another day. I'm sorry, but I can't stay. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me.
All right. Well, that is the end of Twitch and Heche and Ellen DeGeneres. I shall see you guys on the next one.